Can we give a round of applause for Discovery Education? Yes, that was incredible. Speaking of change makers, I'd like to welcome our next finalist to the stage. Hailing all the way from Bedford, Massachusetts, Hannah Suzuki. How you feeling?
Pretty good.
It's game time. Here you go.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered? Humans have been curious about the universe for a long time. It has guided and assisted our ancestors in many ways. Astronomy is perhaps one of the oldest natural sciences. Astronomy, as you all know, relies on the visual sense. Visual patterns, beautiful images, graphing, etc., etc. These are all fun and important, but as a longtime music student, I wonder, what about the auditory sense? Can the auditory sense help conceptualize astronomical data and facts? With this question in mind, my goals are to propose a new way of teaching and learning astronomy with the auditory sense and to provide a new augmented reality experience for astronomy. To meet these goals, I sonified constellation data into sound logos or short music and mapped them onto everyday physical scenes. In this project, sonification means translating constellation data into sound logos by generating a musical score. When I say ba-da-ba-ba-bum, everybody knows exactly which company I'm talking about. In the same way, my sound logos express a constellation and hopefully make people think, oh, that constellation. My sonification algorithm looks at 6 different features of a constellation and translates them to 5 music theoretical elements using the help of image and data analysis. First, the algorithm overlays a music sheet onto a constellation image and interprets the stars as notes, meaning the 2-dimensional star placement is mapped to the melody and rhythm. Then, the algorithm looks at the constellation size and determines the music length. The constellations are classified into 2 classes, big and small, based on their areas, and translated to long and short music. The algorithm then looks at another dimension, the brightness of stars, and translates it to the dynamics or the volume of each note in the music. Brightness has 3 levels. Super bright stars play a loud trumpet sound, very bright stars play a loud piano sound, and dimmer stars play a soft piano sound. Deep sky objects are, for example, galaxies and gas clouds. This other dimension is expressed as an extra cello sound. Finally, the algorithm expresses red, orange, or yellow stars more detached and jumpy than regular white stars. This sonification algorithm is then implemented into a handheld device called Astro Music Box. Astro Music Box generates a sound logo as a stereo audio clip using score information in MIDI. It is also powered by 3M products. You can see a sample score of the constellation Canis Major. I then use this device to verify if sonifications can actually help conceptualize constellations. I asked 15 participants to look at 2 constellation images and listen to 1 sound logo with the goal in mind to choose the image they are listening to. My sonifications offer 91% accuracy, and though this is a small-scaled experiment, I think it's safe to say that sonification has great potential for the conceptualization process. Astro Music Box is not just a music box. It has a camera and sensors that you can use for augmented reality. Specifically, it is for audio augmentation, which means mapping audio effects onto physical scenes. For example, in the picture, you can see the device scan an AR marker of the constellation Orion and play the sound logo for it. In addition, you can experience audio augmentation for the night sky. When the Astro Music Box is pointed to the night sky, it plays the sound logo of the constellation viewable according to its location, pitch, and heading. Astro Stereo Music Box also has a strong laser that you can literally point to a constellation and hear it at the same time. I think this has great educational impacts for astronomy. For future steps, I want to conduct an experiment with the visually impaired community. I also want to use machine learning for sound arrangements, as well as sonify other scientific data. A big thank you to my mentor, Stephanie Owen, and to you all for listening.
Amazing work. Judge is going to do 5 minutes of Q&A. Stage is yours.
Great presentation, very interesting concept. How many constellations did you use to build your model?
So this, initially, I only had about 2 constellations sonified when I entered the competition in the spring. And then during the spring, I kind of reworked my entire sonification algorithm to better advance it and to provide more features of the constellation. Initially, I only sonified, I think, 3 dimensions, the 2-dimensional star placements plus the brightness of stars. But this summer, I advanced that into the 2-dimensional star placements, the brightness of stars, plus the constellation size, the colors, and the deep sky objects. And so I kind of reworked the entire thing. And additionally, I sonified 8 different constellations in total. There are 88 constellations, and so that is a very small fraction. However, I think if I were to, or I am going to advance this project, I would want to sonify even more.
Could you just talk a little bit about the overlaying of the music staff onto the stars? So the distance of how far the stars is apart is somewhat arbitrary based on where we are in the world observing these stars. Could you talk a little bit about how your model accounts for that or how you dealt with that in your process?
So currently, I am overlaying a music sheet, so basically in musical terms, a 5-line staff plus ledger lines onto a constellation image. And right now, I'm using a constellation image of a constellation that can be seen from the northern hemisphere. So it is from the northern hemisphere, and depending on where you are and depending when you're seeing it, it is going to change. So it is a very broad display or representation of a constellation. And if you were to sonify in a different way, the music would be different. So to answer your question, yes, it would be different. The distance between the stars and the stars, they do, if you zoom in, they obviously become closer or farther. Right now, they are based off this, the biggest, or I think it's the biggest, yes, the biggest area of a constellation. The biggest area of the constellation, the very bottom star and the top star is the bottom note and the top note. And everything else is scaled to that biggest constellation.
Really cool concept, Hannah. I was wondering, so for the brightness, could that potentially be affected by light pollution, like the brightness algorithm?
That is something I actually haven't considered, but it's a really good idea. Right now, the brightness is based on like the visual magnitude. And so it is all visual. And so, yes, it could be affected by light pollution. And I think that's definitely something worth noting about.
Great, thanks. So over the course of this project, it's been many months. Can you tell us about a challenge that you had and how you overcame it?
So this project, obviously, there were many challenges to overcome. One of the challenges was during the summer, as I said, I reworked the algorithm. And one of the things I wanted to rework was the image analysis. I wanted to analyze the image and to extract the constellation features. And so in this case, I learned how to use an image processing module or library. And in this case, I used OpenCV. And then I binalized, I edge detected and then extracted the shape and everything. And so I had to learn how to use that first, because initially I didn't know how to do that. And that was something difficult, learning and then applying that. Another difficult thing was the challenges, or the experiment. The experiment, as I said, I asked 15 participants, 10 questions each, and they were varying. I started from easy questions and harder questions. And I did a first round, I think with around 5 people, and they were great, and they were so great that they got all the questions right. And yes, this is great. I mean, it's better than everybody getting all of them wrong. However, it didn't give me great data. And so I had to make another experiment, second round, make the questions harder, but not obviously not too hard so that they all fail. Because, I mean, sonification is a complicated process in my opinion, especially from someone that maybe doesn't know as much about constellations and music as I do. And so, you know, obviously I had to make questions, remake questions, retest everybody. And so that was a bit of a hiccup that I went through, but I'm glad that I overcame it.
You may not have the time to answer that question, but NASA asks thousands of people to look at images and to try to identify new, celestial objects.
Yes.
It's a very tedious task.
Yes.
I wonder if could music accelerate discovery of new images and new objects in the sky?
I definitely think it can. I mean, we all rely on the visual sense. And yes, that is helpful. As I said, it's important. But if we could hear, if I could sonify everything, then, you could notice on different things.
Amazing work. Yes, big round of applause, Hannah.
Thank you.
Hannah, Sorry. Great job. Amazing.